The glass paperweight shattered against the wall, sending crystal shards flying across Ethan Montgomery's immaculate corner office. His assistant winced but didn't flinch. She was used to these outbursts by now. "What do you mean I'll lose everything?" "If I'm not married by Friday?" Ethan's voice boomed through the top floor of Montgomery Enterprises. At 34, he was the youngest CEO in the company's history, having built a tech empire worth billions. His piercing blue eyes now widened with disbelief as he stared at the legal document before him. His lawyer, Stanley Winters, adjusted his glasses nervously. "It's your grandfather's final amendment to the trust. If you're not married by your 35th birthday, which is this Friday, controlling interest in Montgomery Enterprises reverts to the board of directors." "That's ridiculous. That's 3 days away." Ethan loosened his perfectly knotted tie, feeling the walls closing. He can't do this from the grave." "Actually, he can. The amendment is ironclad." Stanley pointed to the signature line. "We've explored every legal avenue." Ethan collapsed into his Italian leather chair, running fingers through his chestnut hair. His grandfather had always been traditional, constantly nagging him about settling down. But this was beyond manipulation. This was blackmail. "There has to be a way out," Ethan muttered. Just then, the door opened without a knock. Madison Hayes, a 27-year-old intern with curly brown hair pulled into a messy bun, stumbled in with an armful of reports. She froze when she saw the broken glass and the tension in the room. "I'm so sorry, I didn't realize." "No, come in," Ethan said suddenly, his eyes lighting up as he straightened. Something had clicked in his mind, a solution so absurd it just might work. "Madison." "Right? The MBA intern from Columbia?" Madison nodded cautiously, clutching the papers tighter. "Yes, sir. I've been here 3 months." Stanley recognized the look in Ethan's eyes. "Ethan, whatever you're thinking. Madison, how would you like to be promoted?" Ethan's voice had shifted from panic to calculated charm in an instant. "Promoted?" Madison's eyebrows shot up. "I'm just halfway through my internship." Ethan stood walking around his desk with newfound purpose. "How does wife sound instead?" Madison's jaw dropped, and the stack of reports tumbled from her arms, scattering across the floor. "Excuse me?" "It would be a business arrangement," Ethan continued, bending to help her gather the papers. Their hands touched briefly, sending an unexpected jolt through both of them. "Strictly professional. 1 year of marriage, and I'll set you up with whatever career you want afterward. Plus a settlement that would pay off your student loans 10 times over." Madison stared at him, certain this was some bizarre joke. "Mr. Montgomery, I don't think—" $500,000, Ethan said firmly. "For 1 year of your life. A business contract, nothing more." Stanley groaned. "This is insane, even for you." Madison's mind raced. She was drowning in student debt, supporting her younger sister through college, and living in a shoebox apartment with 3 roommates. Still, marry her boss? A man who, until today, had never even remembered her name? "I need to think about this," she managed to say, her voice barely above a whisper. Ethan's phone buzzed. He glanced at it and frowned. "You have until 5 p.m. Decision." "Time, Madison." "It's just business. The most important business deal of my life." As Madison backed out of the office in a daze, Stanley shook his head. "You can't seriously expect her to agree to this madness." Ethan straightened his tie and grinned, the confidence of a man who'd never heard the word no radiating from him. "Everyone has a price, Stanley. I just named hers." What Ethan didn't realize was that Madison Hayes wasn't like anyone he'd ever met before, and she was about to prove it. Madison paced the tiny break room, ignoring the stale coffee and her buzzing phone. Her best friend and fellow intern, Tyler Rodriguez, watched her with growing concern. "He wants to marry you? Like, legally marry you?" Tyler's eyes were wide with disbelief. "Girl, that's not a promotion. That's a lifetime movie waiting to happen. It's $500,000, Tyler." Madison collapsed into a chair. "Do you know what I could do with that money? Pay off my loans, help Lily finish college without debt, maybe even buy a small place instead of sharing walls with roommates who think 3 a.m. is the perfect time for drum practice. Tyler leaned forward. But marriage to Ethan Montgomery? The human? Iceberg? The guy who fired his last assistant for bringing him coffee that was 2 degrees too cold? It's just business, Madison said, echoing Ethan's words even as she struggled to believe them herself. The door swung open, and in walked Olivia. Chen, the intimidating HR director. Madison, Mr. Montgomery wants to see you. Now. Tyler squeezed her hand as she rose. Whatever you decide, I've got your back. Back in Ethan's office, the broken glass had been cleared away, but the tension remained thick in the air. Ethan stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows, his silhouette framed against the Manhattan skyline. Without turning, he asked, "Have you made your decision?" Madison took a deep breath. "I have conditions." This made him turn, eyebrows raised in genuine surprise. No one gave Ethan Montgomery conditions. "I'm listening," he said cautiously. 1. My sister gets a full scholarship to finish her degree. 2. I want the settlement in writing before we sign any marriage certificate. 3. I keep my internship and get real work experience, not just playing trophy wife. Ethan studied her with newfound interest. Most people wilted under his gaze. Madison stood taller. 4, she continued. This stays strictly professional. No expectations. The corner of Ethan's mouth twitched. Afraid you might fall for me, Ms. Hayes? Hardly. Madison rolled her eyes. Final condition. When this ends, you write me a recommendation that would make Harvard Business School weep with joy. Ethan crossed the room, extending his hand. Deal. As they shook on it, Stanley emerged from the adjoining conference room looking defeated. The paperwork's ready. Are we really doing this? We're really doing this, Ethan confirmed. 48 hours later, Madison found herself in a simple white dress at City Hall, watching as Ethan signed their marriage certificate with the same flourish he used on billion-dollar contracts. No family, no friends, just Stanley, Olivia as witnesses, and a bored-looking clerk pronouncing them husband and wife. You may kiss the bride, the clerk intoned. Madison and Ethan froze, staring at each other awkwardly. This wasn't part of the plan. We don't have to, Madison began. It's fine, Ethan interrupted, leaning in for what was meant to be a quick, clinical peck. But the moment their lips touched, something unexpected happened. A jolt of electricity passed between them, causing both to pull back in surprise. Their eyes locked for a moment in mutual confusion, before Ethan quickly turned away, straightening his already perfect tie. Congratulations, Mr. and Mrs. Montgomery, Stanley said dryly. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need a drink stronger than what they serve at the board meeting this afternoon. Outside City Hall, Ethan's sleek black car waited. I have meetings until 8, he said, checking his watch. The penthouse doorman has your key. Make yourself at home. It's your home now, too. Right. Madison nodded, the reality of what she'd done finally sinking in. And what exactly do I tell people about our whirlwind romance? Ethan's phone buzzed. He read the message and smiled for the first time that day. The board just received notice of our marriage. My grandfather's conditions are satisfied. Glad I could help, Madison replied, unable to keep the sarcasm from her voice. Ethan paused before getting into his car. Look, I know this isn't ideal, but thank you, Madison. Truly. For just a moment, his corporate mask slipped, revealing something almost human underneath. As his car pulled away, Madison stood alone on the steps, her new wedding ring feeling impossibly heavy on her finger. What had seemed like a simple business arrangement suddenly felt much more complicated. She didn't notice the paparazzi hiding across the street, capturing the moment the unknown intern became Mrs. Montgomery. Photos that would explode across social media within the hour. 3 months into their arrangement, Madison and Ethan had settled into an unexpected rhythm. The penthouse was large enough that they could avoid each other when necessary, but increasingly, they found themselves sharing dinner and conversation after long days at the office. "The Jenkins proposal needs work," Ethan said one evening, loosening his tie as they sat on the balcony overlooking Central Park. "Your analysis caught weaknesses the entire finance team missed." Madison smiled, secretly pleased. True to his word, Ethan had kept her working, really working, at Montgomery Enterprises. Maybe if you didn't terrify every employee, they'd actually speak up with their concerns. "I don't terrify everyone," Ethan protested. "You made an intern cry yesterday because he brought you sparkling water instead of still. He's been working there for 6 months. He should know better." Madison raised an eyebrow. "Do you even know his name?" Ethan paused, looking uncomfortable. "That's not the point." "It's exactly the point," Madison challenged. "You're brilliant, with numbers and strategy, but people aren't spreadsheets, Ethan." To her surprise, instead of bristling, Ethan considered her words. "My grandfather used to say something similar," he admitted quietly. "He built this company knowing every employee's birthday, and yet he manipulated you with that ridiculous marriage clause," Madison pointed out. Ethan's laugh was unexpected and genuine. "Touché. The old man was complicated." His expression softened. "Like someone else I know." Their eyes met, and, for a moment, the pretense fell away. Madison felt her heart skip, a reaction she'd been fighting more frequently. The moment shattered when Ethan's phone rang. "It's my mother," he said, looking at the screen. "Probably calling about the charity gala tomorrow night." Madison tensed. "The one you conveniently forgot to mention." "Did I?" Ethan winced. "You'll need to come. The board will expect my wife to be there." "I have nothing to wear to a gala," Madison protested. "That's easily solved," Ethan replied, already typing on his phone. "Olivia will handle it." The following evening, Madison stepped out of the bedroom in a midnight blue gown that made her feel like she belonged in another life. Ethan's expression when he saw her made her breath catch. "You look—" He trailed off, uncharacteristically at a loss for words. The gala was a glittering affair at the Metropolitan Museum. As they walked the red carpet, photographers shouted questions about their whirlwind romance. "Mrs. Montgomery, how did you know he was the one?" Before she could stammer a rehearsed answer, Ethan pulled her close. "Sometimes the heart recognizes what the head denies," he said smoothly, looking at her with such convincing adoration that Madison almost believed him. Inside, they were immediately approached by Eleanor Montgomery, Ethan's elegantly intimidating mother. "So, this is why you've been dodging my calls," Eleanor said, appraising Madison coolly. "A courthouse wedding to an intern? Your grandfather would have wanted—" "Grandfather wanted me married," Ethan cut in sharply. "I am. Madison is my wife, and that's all there is to it." Eleanor's eyes narrowed. "We'll talk later," she said before gliding away. "Sorry about that," Ethan murmured. "My mother has always had specific ideas about suitable matches." "Like everyone believing this is a real marriage?" Madison whispered back. Ethan's face grew serious. "Dance with me," he said, leading her to the floor just as the orchestra began a waltz. To her surprise, Ethan danced beautifully, guiding her effortlessly. "Where did you learn to dance like this?" she asked. "Boarding school," he replied. "Mandatory cotillion. I hated every minute." Madison laughed. "I learned from YouTube videos before my sister's quinceañera." As they swept across the floor, Madison felt the eyes of the crowd on them. "Everyone's watching," she whispered. "Let them," Ethan said softly. "Maybe we're giving them something worth seeing." Later that night, as they escaped the gala early, Ethan's hand remained at the small of her back. In the car, an unusual silence fell between them. "Thank you," Ethan said finally. "Not just for tonight, for these past months." "It's a business arrangement, remember?" Madison said, but without conviction. "Is it still?" Ethan asked, his voice low as the car pulled up to their building. Because I'm finding it harder to remember that part. In the elevator, the tension between them built with each ascending floor. When they reached the penthouse, Ethan turned to her. I think I'm breaking our fourth condition, he admitted. The professional one? Madison's heart raced. Yes. He moved closer. If you want me to step back, just say the word. Instead of answering, Madison closed the distance between them, her lips finding his in a kiss nothing like their awkward courthouse peck. This was real, electric, inevitable. When they finally broke apart, Ethan rested his forehead against hers. I didn't plan for this, he whispered. For you. The great Ethan Montgomery without a plan? Madison teased, though her voice trembled slightly. Plans change, he said, brushing a curl from her face. Some things are worth more than business deals. 6 months later, as their 1-year anniversary approached, Madison found herself in Ethan's office again, this time watching him tear up their original contract. I don't want this to end in 3 months, he said simply. I want a real marriage. Madison, not for the company, not for my grandfather's will, for us. Madison smiled, thinking of how much had changed. Ethan now knew every intern's name. She had completed her MBA and taken a leadership position in the company's foundation. And somewhere along the way, what had begun as a business transaction had become the most genuine thing in either of their lives. I think, she said, taking his hand, that might be the best business proposal I've ever received.